pharma sector has been ablaze for quite some time now. It's a very really interesting sector in India, especially the mid-cap space. To analyze this sector threadbare, we are joined by several experts. First of them is Brian Tempest, Independent Chairman at Religare Hichens Harrison. He joins us on the phone line from London. If you remember, last was with Ranbaxy. And also joining us here is Ranjit. Ranjit, we come to you in just a minute. First, Mr. Tempest, do you think that the prospects for Indian generic companies have improved significantly considering the aging population in the West and rising healthcare costs? Perhaps the move towards cheaper generics is compelling, and therefore that makes Indian generics a compelling story?
Yes, I mean, what's very interesting is even during this recession, the Indian share of DMFs and ANDAs in the generic space have continued to rise. In fact, in the first quarter, the Indian share of DMFs for the first time passed 60%, and that was at a time that the rest of the world was suffering from this economic downturn. So I see it as in a very positive light.
So, Mr. Tempest, if you were to conduct a SWOT analysis right now on the Indian pharma space, like you rightly said, ANDAs have increased about 30-odd%. What would you sense the biggest opportunities are right now, maybe in the biosimilar space, if you could elaborate, or even in the innovator generic space, and the biggest threats for our markets? Is it US FDA? Is it our own pricing regulatory issues?
Well, you know, one of the interesting things is that a lot of the generic companies are doing very well in the CRAM space. That's the contract research and manufacturing. Yes. But if you look at the actual numbers, the Indian share is really relatively small compared to the size of this market. So there's lots of scope in the contract research and manufacturing area, as well as the sort of basic growth in the generic space. And one of the things that I find is that I'm traveling around the world and speaking in different places, is that the interest in the big pharma companies of getting involved in some alliance or some M&A with Indian companies is just growing by the month. Who would have thought 5 years ago that Pfizer would have had such a positive relationship with Aurobindo? I mean, that is just a reflection of the way that I think the global pharma space is going and the role that India has got within it.
Okay. Mr. Tempest, one final question to you. Something has happened to the M&A space after the Ranbaxy brothers sold out. For the first time, we saw promoters able to look at their businesses as something which they might even sell if they have other interests in other spaces. It's not something which was common in India before that. Do you think you're going to see more such M&A deals? Also because a lot of foreign companies would want to look at India as a growing market per se.
Yeah, what is actually driving a lot of these foreign companies is that they see that 80% of the world's population is actually sharing 20% of the world's pharmaceuticals. And that is driving them to try and get a bigger footprint in the emerging world. And at the same time, as you quite rightly said, a number of promoters are now actually reviewing exactly where they are with respect to their investments and what is the best way forward. And there is a very sort of positive environment for potential deals in the future. It's a very interesting change to what has been there for the last 10 years.
Okay, Mr. Tempest, thank you very much for sparing time for us.